Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted to transform your fear and live your greatest life, then do we have the Joy from Fear show for you. Today I'll be talking with Dr. Carla Marie Manly, clinical psychologist, fear-based disorder expert, and the author of a brilliant book on transforming your fear, Joy from Fear. And that's just what I want to talk with her about today, about creating the life of your dreams by making fear your friend. That, plus we'll talk about chocolate chip cookie incidents, headless monsters and eggshells, terror red alerts, a giant silver-haired god of fear, and what in the world feather duster breathing has to do with, anything. So welcome to the show, Carla. Are you ready to shine?
I am definitely ready to shine.
Woohoo! All right, so before we dive right into things, who was the woman with the right house, the right kids, the right clothes, the right husband, and even the right car? And I'm sad to ask, why was she dying on the inside?
That woman was me. And she was dying on the inside. You just dive right into it, Michael.
Right into the thick of things.
Thank you for that. So she was me and the woman who always wanted to please everyone. I grew up in a family, ninth child in a family of 10, very Catholic and very patriarchal. So we were taught, or I was taught, you must fear dad, you must fear God, you must fear older brother, in that order. And so I grew up very much wanting to be perfect, very much wanting to please everyone in my life, but particularly men. And so when I was young, I somehow, I'm not sure why, I think I know why, I knew I wanted to be a psychologist. And the reason I think I knew that is my family was very dysfunctional. And something in the very young, intelligent me, the, very heart me, knew that I was meant to help other people. Yet, fortunately or unfortunately, I tested very, very high on IQ tests and was put in special classes for gifted people. Mm-hmm. And thus, my family said, oh, you're too smart to be a psychologist. You're too smart to be a teacher. You must be an attorney. And so I decided to follow that path. And after I left college, enrolled in law school, a very good law school in Northern California. And my body, and we were talking a little bit before the show, how important the body is and how much the body knows. And my body said, you're not eating. We're just not eating. We're taking a time out here. And so there I am, 84 pounds, trying to get my law degree, when I finally said, no, I'm not doing this anymore. Okay, family, don't love me. Okay, world, it's all right. I'm taking a time out.
If I pause you, since you said time out, what's fascinating about this, we've had on Don Miguel Ruiz, the 4 Agreements before, and he talks about the government of our minds and about us being domesticated by our families. And what that means is we get a rule set in our heads, and we have to obey those rules because we also have a dictator in there that will try us and judge us and execute us, in a sense, if necessary. So you, at this point, your whole childhood, but particularly in law school, you had to be torn both directions because the government of your mind is in complete, total out of alignment with your value set, and yet you must please the safety of your family, the government of your mind.
Yes, and I love the 4 Agreements. It's such a wonderful work that you can embrace, and I really believe in his concepts, and absolutely that piece that we are socialized, we are raised to be this thing that often, sometimes, it's in concert with the inner nugget, with the inner truth, with the inner light. All too often, it is discordant with the inner truth, the inner light. And something in me, far, far wiser than I was at that age, wanted me to be Lucy and Charlie Brown, dispensing advice for a nickel in a little box.
That you do have a Lucy haircut, in a sense. Longer, but a Lucy haircut. So cool.
It is a Lucy. And so, exactly, I wanted to be me, but the rules that I was told to live by were very different from who I was on the inside. And so I left law school, and much to my family's dismay, enrolled in a master's program in counseling psychology. And my father sort of whittled away at me by not going to my graduation and that sort of thing. And so patriarchy won, and daughter dutifully went to work in a field that was lucrative. And I was married and had two beautiful children and supported my husband and did everything right, and except please myself. And so I went on this path year after year thinking, I'm strong, I'm tough, I'm fearless, I'm doing the right thing, I'm pleasing everybody. And one day I woke up and I said to my husband, and it was a very difficult marriage. It was not a healthy marriage. And I said, I need to go back to school. I have supported you through every dream you've ever had. This is my dream, the one dream I'm bringing to you. And he said, no, you have enough education. I said, okay, wow. Universe, thank you for that comment. Thank you for that comment.
Freedom!
And I woke up, and there was another piece, and I shared this recently for one of the first times. And now I see how powerful it is that in that time, I didn't allow my creative self to develop, but something in me wanted a time out. And so for the first time in about however many years, decades, I took a class at our local college that was just for fun. I took a class in photography. And in that photography class, they asked us to do a self-portrait. Again, the body speaks the truth. The creative mind knows the truth. And I was working 18 hours days and raising two kids and taking care of a husband who didn't like to work. And so I took this photography class and fell in love with the dark room. And there aren't too many dark rooms left, and just found it so peaceful. But when we were given our final project, which was to do something that calls to you, I thought, I'll do a self-portrait. And didn't really think about it. But what unfolded was me in a leather coat, cool sunglasses, wearing all the right things, with the right car, the right sports car behind me. And then I slowly undressed in each subsequent picture, taking off the layers of what I was supposed to be. And the final scene, or final series of scenes, and I still have these pictures, they're in black and white, was me wearing a sheet with blood running down. Of course, I didn't cut myself, but it looked like I had. And then one with me fully disrobed with just the blood running down my heart. Symbolic of what? The body is hurting, the psyche is hurting, the mind is hurting. And that sort of started opening me up. And this was actually before the comment about going back to school. Then, and this was the kicker, there I am looking at these pictures and getting all of this feedback, and very unlike me to do pictures like this. I mean, I'm a good Catholic girl, or was a good Catholic girl at that time. And to display them and be behind them was very new for me. So again, I'm really pushing my boundaries, pushing the rules that were imposed on me and what a good girl should do. And so I realized that I was living a life where I was a role model for my two beautiful children, who on one hand I was saying, follow your passion, follow your dreams, don't worry about money, bliss will come, move forward fearlessly. And it slapped me upside the head, and I said, woman, you're not living your truth. You're not living the way that you are asking your children to live. How dare you? Walk your talk. And that is what caused me to say to my husband, honey, I need to go back to school. It's not a want, it's a need. It was, I want to, but I need to. And so that caused all of a sudden, all the layers started falling away. And I realized then when I started doctoral school and the marriage ended as was right and all of that, and my life really changed. And I realized in doctoral school that I met my kula, my people, my tribe for the first time in my life. People who talked like me, who moved like me, who were odd like me in my wonderfully, oddly unique way. I was like, this is so cool. There are more of me out there. And so I realized in this safe environment, you could not have told me this earlier, Michael. If you had told me I had lived by fear, I would have told you, no way, I'm strong, I'm tough, I'm me, right? I'm Wonder Woman. Instead, I realized that I was driven by fear, lived by fear, fear of breaking the rules, fear of going against the family and society's needs for me. And that is how then in my doctoral program, I started researching fear. I knew that this was the divine's calling for me to take what I had learned and the challenges I had been through and research them and understand how to help other people not stay trapped like me, not give up decades of their life, but to use my journey as a way to empower other people, to walk my talk and help people create joy from fear by being who they are meant to be.
Woohoo!
Oh,
Two key things in this that are really exciting to me. First off, one of the biggest fears that you had to push forward into was a fear of trusting yourself. You were told if you don't obey the party line, in this case, the family line, and first family is your immediate, what do we call it, the nuclear family with your parents, and then it's the family with now your husband being represented as your dad. If you don't do that, then everything will fall apart. You will be unsafe. It will all fall away from you, which, in a sense, when you went into it, it did, but in a good way.
yes, yes.
And then the second piece is, you said something really profound. I fell in love with the dark room. You fell in love with going into the darkness, which is your life's work now, going into the fear and shining light on it and making friends with the darkness and rummaging around and actually seeing what's in there that can guide you and guide others forward.
Yes. I love that you picked up on that imagery. I hadn't thought of it quite that way before, but it makes, what a gift, because it makes perfect sense. I would just want to be in there and see what came out of the images, which is how life is. If we play with it and allow it and don't worry about what unfolds, we create these masterpieces that are within us, just waiting for light, waiting for air, waiting for movement, waiting for our courage to push through, to recognize our fears and push through them. And in my analysis of fear and my research of fear, I went through a qualitative and quantitative analysis of these various questionnaires that I developed so that I could understand how could I help people, what are people's stories, so the quality, that's the qualitative analysis, of course, is what's the quality of fear to people? And then the quantitative part, how many people are stuck in fear? How many people self-soothe, self-medicate as a way to not face their own heartbeat, their own breath, their own joy? And my research confirmed my own journey and let me know, Carla, you're not alone. And not only are you not alone, but you're meant to be a light. Everything I have ever gone through, I would not change, no matter how painful, no matter how difficult, because everything I have been through has made me a better human being, a better therapist, a better woman, and people who I work with and people who know me can feel it, that I get them without judgment, with no reservation. I get what it is to be human in the deepest, darkest, and sometimes lightest realms of humanity.
I love it. And we all have that light inside of us. And we are all, everything on each of our paths, everything on each of our paths has been here to serve us once we were willing to turn around and face that shadow.
Yes, yes.
Let's talk about fear as a fire-breathing entity. And what's the positive, enlightening side of fear?
So fear is a fire-breathing entity. It is that part that terrifies us, that scares us. And there's the realistic fear, the fear of, getting shot when somebody is, brandishing a gun at us, the fear of being burned when there's a firestorm on the hillside. Those are all realistic fears. And then there is this part of fear that the minute we get closer to it, the minute we start speaking our truth and saying, what's up? I don't want to be immobilized anymore. I'm dying. I'm anxiety ridden. I'm depressed. And it goes, go back into your place, young man, young woman, father, mother, whatever it is. Go back. That's the fire-breathing entity. And fear, the fire-breathing entity, definitely has a bullyish, controlling side. And we can either retreat, be meek, and do what the world says, or we can learn to muster our courage. And as I say it, with dignity, courage, and respect, speak our truth.
Woohoo! So let's talk about the devil we know and the messenger we want to know. Tell us about destructive fear and constructive fear.
Okay, so destructive fear, when we look at this realm of irrational fears, so non-realistic fears like a fire, burning a house down, when we look at destructive fear, we're looking at all of the messages that are outside of us and inside our own beings that tell us you shouldn't, you should. Don't, you can't, you better not, you are not good enough, you are not smart enough, you're too smart, you're not pretty enough, you're not tall enough, you're not. And that is destructive fear. And destructive fear has a tone to it. When people want to understand, how do I know when destructive fear is talking to me? It has a specific tone. It is harsh, it is sneaky, it is manipulative, it is bullying, it's unkind, and it's repressive. And destructive fear is constricting in nature. It will leave you ultimately feeling less than. It will leave you feeling smothered. And that is destructive fear. And it's just its way of being. It's what it is.
Well, I teach automatic writing, a process of self-journaling or getting information from the inside. And people always ask, how do I know if this information is coming from me or not? And I say, if it's shoulda, woulda, coulda, chastising you or shooting all over you, then it's not from your higher self. And you just made the link to me. That's destructive fear speaking.
Yes. And the reason we can usually or always boil it down to destructive fear is because it will leave us handcuffed, smothered, not speaking our truth. It's destructive in nature. And if we take it down bit by bit to its roots, we will find fear. Fear of something. Fear of something. So that's the essence of destructive fear. And here's the scary part about it, that we become so used to its voice. And some people who have like a strong inner critic, they're so used to it that it's all they know. It's what they know. It's the life, it's the breath that they live in. It's their soup, so to speak. So if we're moving from that to constructive fear, well, what is constructive fear? Constructive fear is, as you were saying, the higher self. It is the spirit. It is the soul as well of our core, our kernel. And when we're listening to constructive fear, here's again, it gets a bit tricky because it's a quieter voice. It's gentle. It's not strident. It's not bullying. It's not aggressive. It is just there. It's calming, it's reassuring, it will never work against you, and it wants what's best for you and for those in your world. And so if we're really battered around and immersed in destructive fear, it can be hard to listen to constructive fear. That's where mindfulness, that's where exercise, that's where prayer comes in, that allows us, and I'm talking exercise that is like a gentle hike with you in nature, where you can slow down the mind, the busy self, and start listening to, yes, there's all this chatter going on and it's negative and it's keeping me busy, but there's also, when I take a deep breath in and a deep breath out and bring the parasympathetic nervous system on board, I can then have better access to constructive fear, to that voice that says, okay, you get to go in the dark room. Okay, you get to go on a hike today. Work can wait. In fact, what you're working on will likely have a better work product if you give yourself an hour or a half hour time out. And so that's the voice. Here's another example. Many people wake up and say, well, how can I start my day better? and I ask them what their day looks like. Well, I reach for my cell phone, I down a cup of coffee, I race out the door with a bagel in my hand, and, flip people off on my way to work. Well, you're starting your day with destructive fear, and destructive fear will be with you throughout the day. On the other hand, if you keep your cell phone out of the bedroom and you wake up, I don't care if you have a good voice or not, singing a happy song, listening to gentle music, getting a cup of herbal tea, saying a prayer, gratitude, do something to start your day in a peaceful way. Louis Armstrong and I start every morning together, right? It's one of my things. It's a wonderful world. I listen to Louis. I make my herbal tea. My husband sleeps in a little longer than I do. And I start my day in a very meditative quality, because that's however we start our day. Home is where we start from, right? And so that is constructive fear in a very simple way that is accessible to everyone. Even if you have a busy day ahead and a deadline ahead, you're worth 5 minutes, 10 minutes of peace and quiet that can start you getting used to this divine self that so wants what's best for you. That's an example of constructive fear.
Woohoo! I've got another word that we can use for constructive fear.
Yes.
The voice of love.
Oh, yes. Yes, yes. Constructive fear is all. And some people, the reason I kind of steer away from that word sometimes is some people, we have so overused the word love, Michael, that people will beat their children and say, I love you. A husband will cheat on his wife and say, but I love you. A woman will steal from her husband's wallet and say, but I love you. A boss will say, I really love you and appreciate you, but not give his employee the raise that he knows he or she deserves, right? Love is an action word. And I get really clear on that with people, that we show love by how we move through the world. And constructive fear will always have us acting from a place of love, not just saying we love somebody, but actually moving in that way to show that we love somebody.
Awesome. Let's talk about another, I guess it's action or action word. It's a challenge we face today in our society. And I'm saying this without judgment at all. But I bet you would agree with me that the amount that we are medicating people, which is more than ever, the medications themselves may or may not be helpful, and the studies are suggesting we both know which direction most of them are headed. But the bigger challenge is people are given a pill and told, that's it. They're not shown how to start doing the inner work to take care of the real challenge.
You're right. I'm very much in agreement with you. And I write about that in Joy from Fear, where, and I don't, keep many statistics in my head. My head's full of other things, but there is one that I keep very near to my heart because it's poignant. 57% of people who go to see their doc for mental health care, and mind you, we're only talking about the people who go, not all the people who don't have access to a doc and don't go, but 57% of people who go to a doc for mental health care are given medication without any psychotherapy. So that means almost 6 out of 10 people who reach out for help are given medication. And without judgment, without shaming anyone who's using medication, It's not your fault. That's not your fault. That's not the doctor's fault. It is our healthcare system's problem, because the only people making money out of that scenario and getting rich out of that scenario are the pharmaceutical companies, the healthcare system, the insurance systems. The clients, the people, the individuals who are looking for help, who are praying that this pill is the fix, they don't know any better. They don't know that their chances of it being effective or not effective are often about 50-50 or less. They don't know that the side effects that they may experience are not their fault. They think, oh, often clients will say, I'm defective. I tried my third anti-anxiety med, or I'm on 10 years of antidepressants. I am broken beyond repair. And I tell them, no, medication, the way we use medication at this point, we don't use medications in an appropriate way. We use medications as target practice, throwing a medication that we think might work. Sometimes a placebo works equally well without side effects, but then it really hurts the clients because they are not given the tools, the insight, the therapy they need to figure out what's the root cause of the anxiety, what's the root cause of the stress, the exhaustion, the depression, what is happening behind the scenes. And it's much like, and I use this analogy all the time, it's much like having a bullet, right? A bullet injury inside my heart, and a doctor coming and saying, we'll put a Band-Aid over that. It's going to fester. It's going to cause long-term damage. And yes, maybe they'll give me an antibiotic and maybe a Band-Aid, but it needs to have the bullet come out. And that's what I think that we need. The shift in our world is to normalize psychotherapy. We don't get handbooks when we come out of the womb. Joy from Fear is the best I can offer right now in the form of a handbook. And without handbooks, we limp through life, not knowing what to do. And medication is not going to give us the tools to know how to navigate life.
Thank you. And that's what we're talking about here today. I want to talk about fear and anxiety and the difference between the two. And something that became really, I'm almost jumping ahead, became so exciting to me is if I go on Netflix, I'm going to see dark movie, scary movie, dark, 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 scary, 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 zombies, dark, dark, death, death, dark, dark, dark. And if I go, what's going on? It occurred to me while reading your book today, because I believe you put it best, that anxiety is fear without having a root cause, without having a target to pinpoint. But it's good. It makes us feel better when we have a tiger that we can point and say, that's what's scaring me. And so if we watch all these scary movies, read scary news, and drown ourselves, in a sense, in scariness, then we at least have tigers to point to.
Yes. Yes, we have dead zombies and all of that rubbish to look at instead of understanding that it's the demons inside that want voice. They want to be exercised, so to speak, because we can't get through life. Most of us. I've never met anyone who hasn't had some demons from childhood or forward that need just to be looked at and taken out.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about, instead of actually, let's talk at least seeing the fear. What's a visualizing fear exercise that we can start to do to really go into the dark room of ourselves?
So I think one of the things, you and I are both big journaling advocates, and if we really want to start at the root of it, what we can do is to visualize fear, is to take a time out, go outside if you have access to nature or a quiet room at home, and just close your eyes and imagine what fear is to you. What does it look like? What does it sound like? What form or forms does it come in, right? And sometimes it comes to us in our dreams. Sometimes it comes to us in the form of people that we kind of run into again and again, that same type that is this, symbolic of our deepest fear. The bully, it might be one, that sort of thing. And so we each have kind of a gut, an archetypal image of what fear is to us. And so we can write about that, we can journal it, we can visualize it in our head, we can draw the image. And when I did my first exercise with fear, and this is how I did it, I was able to visualize this magnificent bearded white man, beautiful, formidable for sure. But he then beckoned to me and said, lie down in this bed next to me. And I thought, whoa, what's this? And what I realized after the exercise was that he was saying, lay down with me. I am your friend. Do not be afraid of me. Here, we can sleep together, meaning we can be together, we can intersect, we can be in the same room. And that was the beginning of my journey. That I didn't have to be afraid of fear. In fact, fear was asking me to learn from it and lie down with it in the most intimate of ways. That was my psyche talking. That was my visualization. And I think here's another one. This is not my client. It's a story from someone else where there was a man, he was about to turn 40 and he was seeing a therapist I know, and he was going into the therapist, and the therapist, a lot of people don't tell their therapist the truth. And this client was keeping some truth from his therapist because he was embarrassed. Finally, he went into the therapist and said, I haven't told you, but I've been having these nightmares. A monster is chasing me. And again, male client on the cusp of turning 40, and he has this monster chasing him in his dreams. And the therapist said, well, why didn't you tell me? He says, I was embarrassed. What 39-year-old has monsters chasing him in his dream? And so they continued the discussion with the agreement that when it happened again, he would turn in his dream and talk to the monster. And so the monster is his fear, right? One of the images of fear. And so he does that, and he comes back in and shares with the therapist. I did what you said, you wouldn't believe. And the therapist says, do tell. And he shares, I turned to the monster and said, what do you want from me? And the monster held up a sign that said, happy birthday. All that he wanted, and it's constructive fear right there. He was thinking it was a bad thing, but it was constructive fear saying, I'm not going to hurt you. I just want you to embrace your 40s. Happy birthday. Everything is going to be okay. And he never had the dream. So that's how we can learn to realize that fear is not our enemy. Fear has this beautiful side, the yin and the yang of everything. Fear has a side that is so loving and so helpful. And so that's how we can visualize it.
Beautiful. I had a guest on recently, a repeat guest. She's an expert on chakras, Anadea Judith. And she wrote a beautiful book called Charge. And it talks about a lot of the challenges we have in our body because we're not allowing charge to flow. And you talk about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. And how I'm translating it through that lens is, how do we get comfortable with holding one heck of a charge?
Oh, it's such a good question. And I have such a good answer, I think. One of the most frequent things I hear from women and men, but often women, is they'll say, Dr. Manly, you're so good at speaking your truth, but it's because you're good at it. You just know this. I said, oh, no. I was raised, children are seen, not heard. Put your hands to your throat kind of thing. So when we are learning how to deal with a charge, one of the ways we get really charged in our culture is speaking our truth with courage, dignity, and respect. And the reason I always add that on, it's not about yelling at somebody. It's not about being aggressive and bullyish and taking away somebody's rights. That's not helpful. What it is about is feeling the charge of terror that takes you over as you're about to speak your truth, and believing in yourself and your message enough to say whatever it is you need to say, whether it's, honey, I want to go back to school, I am going back to school, whether it's, boss, stop calling me sweetheart, whether it's, hey, I know you're having an affair on me, and if you don't start therapy with me by the end of the week and knock this stuff off, I am leaving you. Whatever it is, I'm not saying that that's somebody's truth, but if that is their truth, right, to be able to do it and deal with that charge of the anxiety and the terror of speaking your truth, and watch what happens when you do it enough and you make it to the other side and you realize all I had to fear was the closed down chakra in my throat, my closed down belly, my closed down solar plexus, whichever chakra or chakras were being closed down, whatever parts of the body were not allowing you out of conditioning from the time you were born about what you are and are allowed to do and are not allowed to do. And I think that's how we deal with the charge.
Woohoo! Along those lines, I feel called to ask or to bring up men, particularly in the West anyway, are raised, don't express emotions, don't cry, don't show fear. Women, you're not allowed to be, or girls in this case, you're not allowed to be angry. That's the charge we have to face.
We do, and for women, we forget that anger does not mean that we need to be rageful.
Mm-hmm.
It does not mean we need to be abusive. It does not mean we need to be aggressive to the negative. It simply means that we're feeling a core emotion in our body that serves a purpose. Anger tells us, when it's used appropriately, something is not right. I have been violated or disrespected. And so if somebody does something to me and I feel violated or disrespected, I can get angry. I'm entitled to that. I'm entitled to say, I'm feeling really angry right now.
Boundaries. You're talking right,
Boundaries.
defending your boundaries, and we
My
need that.
Absolutely. And being able to say, this is how I feel. I feel angry. And this is what I would like. This is what I need in order to feel respected and safe. And so for women, being able to learn to speak our truth that way, interestingly enough, we must first do the work to know our truth in order to speak our truth. And many, many people I work with don't know their truth. So it's the slowing down to find our truth that is not reactive, but sure and solid, and then be able to speak it. And for men, you are so right. Men, here's the way I look at it. Men are allowed two feelings. I'm fine and I'm angry. That's it. That's all you guys are allowed to feel if you're real men. And I say, absolutely not. We have 5 basic emotions and thousands of feelings that emanate from those emotions once they, filter through our brain. But the 5 basic emotions all serve a purpose. Anger, sadness, disgust, fear, joy. Every human being is entitled to feel those emotions and to learn how to appropriately express them and channel them. And our men have their emotions squeezed out of them. Let me share a really quick thing about how I learned about that. I said, I have children, right? Mm-hmm. And when I was raising my children, I thought I was raising them in a very good way, right? And one time I picked up my son and said, it's okay, honey, don't cry. Don't cry. Everything's going to be okay. I realized in that moment, I was part of the problem. I didn't mean to be, but here I was already telling him, don't cry. Now, my little nieces, if they fell, I was picking them up. Oh, sweetheart, my auntie's here for you, right? But my sons, and so I quickly learned to stop that. Yet we do that and we don't mean to harm our children that way. But we indoctrinate our boys to be afraid, to feel their emotions, acknowledge their emotions in healthy ways. And we indoctrinate our women to be terrified of expressing healthy anger and going around saying, I'm joyful, I'm happy, I'm pert, everything's okay. Who could I please next? Not a healthy paradigm.
No, and the whole law of attraction really doesn't serve us well when it says, what you think about is what you bring about. So you're not allowed to have those emotions.
Absolutely. And I really like when I'm, listening or working with someone, and I just love learning, and they continue to give us the message that we're entitled to feel all of our emotions, but we don't want to hang on to them. And that's the goal. And then I know when I first heard that, I thought, well, Casey, I don't want to hang on to anger, but can I hang on to my joy, please? Right? I immediately wanted to hang on to something. And so
And I'm okay with that one.
I am okay with that, but it's interesting And I can't remember whose book I was reading where they were saying that. It might have been Michael Singer or something. But I was like, isn't that interesting? Everything else I'm okay with letting go of, feeling it, expressing it, letting it go. But joy, I want to hold on to that one. So I'm glad you feel the same way.
Absolutely. If you were a fly on the wall in my house, you would find it quite interesting, because if something really saddens me, my wife will jump in my face and she'll go, cry, cry. She's like, you can do it, get it out. And oftentimes in that situation or different situations, I will be saying, I'm really angry right now. No, I'm not angry. I'm like, ah, there aren't enough words in the English language about emotions for me to pinpoint exactly what this is. So it's not anger, but I don't know how to express this angst or whatever that's inside of me. I think the more accurate words we have, the easier it becomes to pinpoint what it is, the easier it becomes to do something with it.
I agree. And in Joy from Fear, what I do, it's one of my favorite parts of the book. I have quite a few favorite parts, but I talk about the difference. I touched on emotions and what those are about, and and why they're primitive to us, why they're there. They all serve a purpose. And then how it's our brain, our life experiences that then give us feelings, and these thousands and thousands of feelings that we have. And that's why if I say to you, I love the smell of roses, you may agree, or you may have a memory, I feel joy when I smell roses. And if you have a memory where somebody, threw roses in your face because they didn't like them, you may feel disgust at the idea of roses. So we then take those different memories, and if I say roses, I'm feeling joy, so I'll be happy and delighted and all of that. You may be thinking roses, and your feelings might be chagrin, irritation, unsettled, disease. And that's where we get the power of all of these words, of being able to say, okay, as you were saying, I feel angry right now. And then realizing I'm going to let my brain, all those memories, all that chorus up there, chime in and let me filter through and find the perfect word. Maybe I'm rageful. Maybe I'm furious. Maybe I am seething like a tiger. We get to play with it.
I like it. So let's go from there, and let's talk about play, and let's talk about play of helping us with all of this. First off, what is feather duster breathing?
Okay, feather duster breathings. I believe that breathing exercises, because they take us out of the take us out of the sympathetic nervous system and into the parasympathetic nervous system, that is working to calm us down after we live in chronic fight and flight mode in many cases, right? Breathing is a free and portable way of bringing the parasympathetic nervous system on board. And so we can do simple breathing, just deep inhalations, holding, and deep exhalations, holding. We can count. Feather duster breathing is a way of imagining, as you breathe, that a feather duster is moving through you and wiping away all toxins, all irritations, all holding. And just imagine, just like little cobwebs, in the brain, in the body, in the psyche, just taking the time to really love yourself that way, of breathing in, and feather duster comes in and openness is there. And breathing out, all the vestiges of the cobwebs, there they go. And find any place in the body where you want to release that. And so that's the short story of feather duster breathing. It's one of my favorites because feathers are playful and they're light and they're soothing, and they get rid of cobwebs.
I like it even better than what I'm doing. Whenever I'm in an interview, I have my nice bracelet here, or I might have a stone that I'm playing with, and I'm breathing while I'm talking with you. And I'm breathing in, I send out love. I'm breathing out, I send out love. And I'm continuously focusing. I can picture the energy going up through my spine, up to the heavens, down and around into the earth, and up and around as I'm continuously sending out love, and it shifts the energy. The feather sounds even more fun, but it shifts that energy. Can you tell us, why do we want to put like a sticky note right on our monitor that says, breathe, sucker?
Because our sticky notes, we have so many sticky notes in the head, psychic introjects, that are telling us to race, to run, to do better, to be something different, right? To go, 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 go. We live with that day in and day out. It's our culture. When we put signs in front of us to remind us to breathe, it is just a natural way of reminding our higher self and our bodily self that, hey, I'm usually living from this very shallow place of breathing. And if I just take this time to pause, to breathe, thank you, sticky note, a deep breath in, a deep breath out. Then I feel more centered. It didn't cost me anything. I didn't reach for a beer or a glass of wine or a pill. I reached for something that is right here within me that's letting me breathe in and breathe out and self-soothe. Give my body fresh oxygen, my brain, my blood, fresh oxygen, and the gift to my psyche of really knowing that I can find peace by that simple action, and also the bodily sensation of feeling that my levels of adrenaline and cortisol, the body's stress hormones, that those actually start floating away. They're diminished when we bring that parasympathetic nervous system on board. And how great, how empowering that is to know that we have that at our disposal and can be reminded to do that through a sticky note.
Woohoo! Let's go from sticky notes to, I have an exercise that I do with people. I call the dwelling and the antidotes. And what this is it's like a sticky note for the mind. When we find ourselves dwelling, like dwelling on an ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend or something that somebody says, if we have a sticky note in our mind, a positive message that we can replace it with, so we use the negative to help bring us to the positive.
Absolutely. And I like those, and I like them as like mindset shifts, right? And the beautiful part is I have this thing that I tell clients is, if you're having a negative thought, we all have an image that we can come up with of a welcome mat in front of our door.
Yeah.
What about a welcome mat in front of our mind? When that thought comes up, I say, put out the unwelcome mat. Not unkindly, just say, no, you're not welcome. And then turn the mat over or put out a different welcome mat and welcome in the positive thought. Because we have that power, we forget. And that's why the images can be so helpful. We can imagine that we have a power to change a front doormat. Mm-hmm. Now, with that template in mind, now we know we have the power to change, to unwelcome a thought, and to welcome one that feels good.
Woohoo! What's a positive self-talk tape?
Positive self-talk tapes, we often as a result of childhood messages, get a tape in our head that is, I'm not good enough, I'm not accomplishing enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not thin enough, I'm not doing what my neighbors are doing, that sort of thing. That's a negative self-talk tape. And in fact, I know certain business people and non-business people who actually motivate themselves by tapes like that.
I used to be one of those people. In the gym, I would go, you lousy beep, 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 beep. Can't you do any beep better than that? But what's interesting, just go to a basic example like muscle testing. Hold up your arm and say, I love myself. And see how much, if you push down on your arm, how strong you are. And then say, you're just a loser piece of... And all of a sudden, your arm collapses. And yet we're indoctrinated that that's how we're supposed to treat ourselves.
Absolutely. And those negative self-talk tapes, there's no upside to them. In the moment, they may feel motivating, but really, if we think about it, and I like to do this with people, I say, if you can't get it for yourself, let's bring your child in the room, an imaginal child. Let's bring your child in the room. And how would it feel? And this brings tears to my eyes because it's so sad to think of this. That let's bring little Michael in the room and let's
You're gonna make me
motivate him.
cry.
He's 5. And let's say, okay, Michael, you piece of crap. Get your room cleaned right now. Get on that bicycle. Learn to ride it. Get your writing assignment done. And by the way, when you're done, you stupid little thing, go and play the piano. So how's that?
Well, you just hit my childhood. Mom, I love her very dearly. She read this book called Tough Love. And I can remember going to do a bicycle race. I was trying to make it to the pros, but at this point I was like 16, 17. And she yelled with spittle coming out of her mouth, "I hope you crash today." And I later asked, "Mom, why did you say that?" "I hoped it would motivate you."
The things that parents say, right?
And I love you, Mom. I love you. I love you. I love you.
And so let's bring little Michael in the room, a 5-year-old, and let's say, my love, what would you like to learn today? Would you like to work on your ABCs? Would you like mommy to take you out for a bike ride? I'll hold the back of it until you feel better. And then when you're done, if you'd like to work on playing the piano, we can go do little, Mary Had a Little Lamb or something like that. And if that feels good or none of that feels good, how about, you beautiful, beautiful soul that I love so much, let's make a batch of chocolate chip cookies. Now, which one is going to motivate that child to ride a bike, work on his ABCs, play piano, and learn to bake? My guess is it's not going to be the first one. And so if we talk to ourselves, a positive self-talk tape, and I'm not saying that we don't want to be firm, because all those things needed to be done at some point in time, the ABCs, the bike riding, the piano, whatever, learning to cook, but it's how we do it, right? And a positive self-talk tape is the one that is the voice of love, the voice of constructive fear, the voice of positivity that says, we can do this. We are a team. We love each other, meaning we as in all parts of me, my body, my mind, and my spirit. And I really try and do that in my own life. And if I make a mistake, as I surely do every day, I try to be very forgiving and say, we didn't allow enough time to get to that appointment. What was the hiccup? Oh, it was that last email that you sent. Okay, next time, do you think we can let that last email go so that we're on time? And also, as you can see, I laugh at myself a lot because humor helps me realize everything isn't so serious.
Well, you have an exercise, laugh, laugh, laugh.
Yes, 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 yes.
And
So,
how would we do that?
Laugh, laugh, laugh is the idea of doing, of making lightness out of situations, taking the time to take something like I just did, where you pause and you just laugh, whatever it is that you're doing, find the joy in it, find the joy in the mistake, find the joy in the broccoli that I just spilt on the kitchen floor, find the joy and then laugh about it. We can choose to put in the critical tape that says, "Oh, you idiot, you spilt the broccoli." Here's a funny one. This is a real one.
And then I'm going to tit for tat because I actually did a Facebook post on this thing now that you hit me just this morning. So go.
We have this beautiful steamer, and my husband loves broccoli now. Yeah. He didn't in the past. So I steam broccoli for him. And darn it, I start the broccoli. I'm tired. I've had a long day at my office, come home and getting everything ready. And then I'll think, while the broccoli's going, I can run to my home office and do a couple things. And sure as shoot, about 50% of the time, less now, I burn the broccoli to the point where this beautiful pot is just burnt, inside and out. And I've learned to laugh at that it's not that I'm stupid. It's not that I don't care about the pot. It's that I don't slow down. And so I used it as a reminder. Stay in the moment, stay with the broccoli, put it on low, and I giggle about it. And I keep the pot as a reminder, a humorous reminder, not a mean reminder, but a laugh, laugh, laugh reminder of how silly life is.
I think this has to be a mantra. Stay with the broccoli.
Stay with the broccoli.
So real quick, I'll share one, and then we'll wrap up to get into a meditation here. I'm having so much fun, Carla. We could just keep going and going and going. So thank you so much for being here. So this morning, you're most welcome. I'm coming back from the gym. My wife, like I said, she's the producer. She's out till tomorrow. She also keeps everything rolling here. And I'm driving home from the gym this morning, and I see the garbage truck in front of me. The trick is, it reminds me it's Thursday, and it's in front of me. I haven't taken out the garbage. So it's a dirt road. At one point, he sees I want to get by. He waits, lets me by. I go zip on up the road. I grab empty the kitty litter into a trash bag, put the trash bag into the top of another, what do you call it, garbage pail thing, grab the recycling, head down the stairs, catch one of the two trash cans on the edge of the top stair. It starts to lean forward a little bit and starts spilling just the beginning of the kitty litter onto the stairs. I start to grab it. The whole kitty litter pours onto the top 4 or 5 stairs. I let go of the other can, which holds the recycling in it, which tumbles down and breaks glass all over the bottom of the floor. And I'm going, no, no, no. And then I just burst out laughing because it was the biggest mess I think I've ever made. And this is somebody who was taught, you do cry at spilt milk because you're going to get beaten for it. And here I am laughing and just going, this is just the silliest thing. Because we have a choice in life. We can cry about these things, which is okay. It's okay. Or we can choose to go, I can't believe you just made such an incredible mess. Even Sir Meowser's my proudest cat. He's looking at me. He's like, "Oh crap, Dad," and then he walks off.
And you're right. We can cry and then laugh.
Yeah.
We can laugh and then cry. We can just choose to laugh because you're right. As you clean up that stuff, and I've been there, not with kitty litter, but with other things, and it is just so much easier to clean it up when you're laughing.
Yeah.
It is. It's just so much more fun.
Absolutely. So speaking about fun, where can people go to find your beautiful book, Joy from Fear, and to find out more?
Thank you. So Joy from Fear is available online through the usual sites, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can also, if you're a fan of supporting local bookstores like I am, you can go to IndieBound to find, a local bookstore that carries it. So it's also on Audible. It's also on Apple Books. And so that's where you can find Joy from Fear. And they can find me on my website, drcarlamanly.com, Facebook, same, LinkedIn, Instagram,
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And if you didn't catch those links, come on over to inspirenationshow.com and we'll get you over to Carla for Joy from Fear as well. So before we dive into a meditation, usually I like to ask last words of wisdom, but I feel called to ask, what can you tell us about burnout?
Burnout, thank you. World Health Organization just last month decided that for the first time in history, burnout is now going to be in the ICD-9, which is the diagnostic manual for the medical profession. And so what we'll be able to do, the reason this is important, is now for all of those people who suffer from exhaustion, the exhaustion that results from chronic stress, they can now feel validated, and also, and this is even more important, they'll be able to get treatment, and even more important, be able to have a label, which is the only reason I believe in labels, so that they can find tools to reduce the stress, the anxiety, all of the things that are contributing to the exhaustion. And so that's the really beautiful part, is now we have this, again, it's an official syndrome, and we'll be looking for that, say, in 2020 to be in print. In the ICD-9, I'm hoping. But the really important piece is for those who are suffering from burnout, you will now be able to feel validated in your feelings, in your experiences, in your mind, in your body, in your soul, and you will be able to seek treatment and find articles on it and be able to shift your life so that feeling burnt out, feeling stressed chronically can be something of your past, not in your current life or your future.
Awesome. And I love how you said shift your life, because when I hear burnout, it's not always the case, but when I hear burnout, I think out of alignment.
Yes. Yes. And at this point, the World Health Organization is looking at burnout as being exclusively related to, again, this is the preliminary piece, related to work and work exhaustion and work burnout. But as we, or most of us know, we can become burnt out in many things. In a toxic relationship, we can become burnt out as, being a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad. It doesn't have to be confined to an office, for goodness sakes. And then being able to find out what's going wrong, where life is out of balance. Because you're right, that's what it is. It is out of balance, where you're not getting enough sleep, enough rest, enough good self-care that causes you to get to that point of feeling burnt out. And we want to get ahead of that so that it doesn't happen.
Oh, I've had such fun today. I've got to go now. We've got to go from burnout to meditation, but this has been such fun, Carla.
Thank you. I absolutely have enjoyed every moment. Thank you. And there's so much more we could dive into. So this has been just joyful. We've hit so much. So thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So would you mind taking us from burnout to a beautiful meditation then?
Yes. And so we'll begin the meditation with one of my favorite meditations and then move into a guided meditation.
And I'll pause you for 1 second. If you're driving down the road, let's do this later when you can dedicate your full attention to it and be able to close your eyes.
Yes. And so the first piece we'll do is one of my favorite. And if you're driving, you can repeat this with me, okay? And you can later write it down, because it's an ancient meditation and one that is so soothing, because the way that this meditation works, whether you're offering it to yourself or to others, every thought that we have, be it good or not so good, be it kind or unkind, reverberates in the self and thus reverberates in the world and comes back to us energetically. And so I love offering this meditation to myself and to others. So I'll do one for me and then one for others, and knowing that you can do as many as you like. And so deep breath in, deep breath out. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be safe from inner and outer danger. May I be well in body, mind, and spirit. May I be truly happy and free. And may you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from inner and outer danger. May you, my beloved, be well in body, mind, and spirit. And may you be truly happy and free. And then moving into a short guided meditation. Imagine right here, right now, when you're in a safe and quiet space, not using any equipment or driving. Just imagine yourself sitting in a meadow of your own creation. This is your meadow to come to day or night, no matter how busy the outside world might be, no matter how chaotic or stressed. This is your internal meadow, your space to come to find peace, tranquility, rest, and relaxation. And as you move into your meadow, and your meadow may shift every time you come to it, but notice today what you see. Is it raw, bare earth in your meadow? Rich, dark, just waiting for fresh growth, fresh life. A meadow of complete potential. Perhaps your meadow is a sea of fragrant lavender, rich and sweet as far as your eye can see. Perhaps your meadow is green grass, golden wheat, wildflowers, poppies, lilies, violets. Perhaps your meadow holds a stream or trees. Wherever you are, just allow yourself to notice, to be here, right now, enjoying the smells, the sights, the scents. Just noticing any wildlife that appears. This is your space, your safe and sacred space. It is yours and yours alone. And then if you like, find a safe space to sit. Maybe you sit in a bed of moss, in a patch of wildflowers, atop a giant boulder. Maybe you choose to lie down next to a stream. But wherever you are, just allow yourself to feel the earth beneath you, knowing that the earth supports you now and always. It is always here. You are safe. You are loved. And then feel the sky above you. The sky is always there, just like you're divine, just like the power of love. It is always there. And allow that sun, that sky, that moon, whatever is there, to be with you, letting you know that you are safe, you are loved, and you are always connected to something enormous, magnificent, and that you can know you are never alone, that you are always loved, and you are always held in this safe and sacred space of being. And here, whether you're lying down or sitting, just allow yourself to breathe deeply and fully, filling up on the inhalation with love, and on the exhalation, letting go of anything that does not serve you. Doubt, fear, worry, anxiety. Just breathing in and breathing out. Inhaling love and light. Exhaling any toxins, any negative energy. And continuing that process, feeling how good it feels to be you. Feeling how good it feels to be loved and to be in a place of love and peace and quiet. And knowing that this space is available to you now and always. It is yours. It is your sacred space. And if it feels right, just for a moment, allow a part of you to move outside of you and look down upon you as a mother might look on her beloved newborn child. And look down upon yourself with all your strengths, all your frailties, all your triumphs and all your stumbles. Every little piece of you. Look through the eyes of love. Look through the eyes of acceptance. Look through the eyes of the soul. And know that you are beautiful. Know that you are sacred. And know that you are loved. And just breathe into that space of beauty and truth. And breathe out. And when you are ready, let that little piece of yourself return into your being. And collecting all those pieces, all that you are. When you are ready, sit, returning to yourself. And when you are ready, stand, knowing that this meadow, that sacred space is inside of you. It is yours, it is you. It is your higher self, a piece of it that is always accessible. When you are ready to leave this meditation, then begin to leave your meadow, one footstep at a time, slowly and safely departing, not in sadness, but in joy, for knowing that you have this power to create this space, and that it is yours, it is within you, forever. Take a deep breath in, and a deep letting go breath out. And when you are ready, return to the world as it is in the here and now. So at peace, so blessed, and so filled with love. And I thank you for allowing me to meditate with you. It is always a joy, a privilege, and a delight. Namaste.
Namaste. You know, before we started, Carla, this has to do with everything with this talk today. You were doing everything in your power to get the microphone to work. And if we had had that microphone working, we wouldn't have the most beautiful wind chimes that have joined us for this journey here today. Everything happens just as it should if we're willing to turn and face it and see it that way.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
We did it. I got to tell you, we did it. I got to crank it back up. I had so much fun. I was walking around the house and the studio this morning going, I want this to be fun. I want this to be fun. We have to make this fun. And we did it, Carla. We did it and you did it. You made fear fun today.
Thank you. Thank you. And poignant moments, beautiful moments. Thank you. Thank you. And lots of fun moments.
Woohoo!
Thank you, lovely soul.
For everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get from joy to fear. Get from, we can say this right, get joy from fear and begin making friends with your fear today and shine bright. Woohoo! Thank you so much, Carla.
Thank you. It was great fun.
Who knew you could have so much fun talking about fear? I so enjoyed our talk with Carla Marie Manly, PhD. To check out our next video on releasing fear, click here, subscribe below.